movie review for a horror film about Kal-El. Yeah, it seems he's lost his marbles. BrightBurn is not what I guess I was hoping it to be. So basically, if you haven't seen the trailer yet, BrightBurn is what essentially is if our greatest, biggest, strongest heroes became our greatest nightmares and villains. And it's an interesting concept, which I do enjoy because we love our heroes and of course we have our favorite villains, and it kind of puts a spin on what if things were the complete opposite. Maybe in a parallel universe it is, and we obviously don't know how to make it. In fact, their BrightBurn is actually a superhero. It's an interesting concept which I was kind of excited for, but how everything was executed was not one of the things that I was such a big fan of. There were certain things that I felt were missing, and there were things that I did enjoy about the film. So let's go over that carefully. Okay, so if you don't know by now, BrightBurn is basically essentially Superman. It is our good old boy in blue, our goody two shoes, Clark Kent, or Superman, or Kal-El, however many personalities you want to say the man has. But the point is, that's who BrightBurn, who Brendan Bryce is actually supposed to be. And his character, I felt, didn't have enough of a reason to actually be evil. So let's start with character development. So when you're writing and creating a character, you need to actually give everyone a purpose. If someone becomes evil, yes, now I'm not saying everyone becomes evil because of bad things that happen to them. That's not necessarily the case. However, it's a little bit more common and it makes more sense to the audience if you understand why they became a villain. So I feel like in regards to character development, that was something that was heavily lacking in regards to the lead protagonist, lead antagonist. And with him with BrightBurn running around, you kind of get a grasp of his life, that it's a desperate Kansas couple looking to have a kid. They're having trouble having a kid, and you know, a baby falls out of the sky. You know, something that they need, something that the mother needs in their life. And the parents seem to have a very strong, loving relationship, but it's not as healthy as it should be, only because they really don't have any communication with each other at all. And that's very evident in the film. And I'll go over that in a little bit later. So when I say character development, I expect something to happen. When people change for the better or for the worse, they change because of a situation that's usually been building up, a trigger point. And it seems BrightBurn's only trigger point is the fact that he's like, oh, I'm not human. I'm better than all of you. Yo, why did y'all say that? Psh, I'm out, yo. That's his trigger point. Like, that's it. And it's kind of like, okay. And everyone at some point wonders, what's it like? Oh man, if I had superpowers, or if I was a supervillain, like what would I do? And you only know your deepest true thoughts and your genuine intentions for that. However, it just seemed spur of the moment. Like, let's just do this. Let's kill people. Let's destroy stuff. I got this. Like, that's what it kind of seemed like. So as you're watching him in the beginning, I do understand that in regards to the storyline, you're supposed to feel like, oh, he gets bullied. And that's kind of what the trailer suggests to you, that he's being bullied in school. And that's not really what's happening, because the situation didn't come off that serious to me. The only bullying I saw actually happening in the school was the teacher asking a question of what is the difference between wasps and bees, and he gives a very science nerdy answer and he just spits it out, and they're like, nerd, and then that's it. Like, that's it. Like, that's the introduction to his bullying in life, and there's no reference to it whatsoever. So I felt like if you were going to illustrate that he's been bullied most of his life and he's truly alone, that should be something that you should see his parents sort of mentioning to him, like, you know, like, hey, how was school? I know you're having a little trouble with these kids. But it was never mentioned again. It was just like that one time, and it just seemed like it was just a weird class. And it's like, okay, he just had a bad period that day in his class. All right. Like, it didn't give me the message of like, this kid's severely bullied. And in that particular scene, the girl, the love interest, I guess that's supposed to be the Lana Lang, she is like, don't worry, smart guys like always get the girl, like something cutesy like that to be supportive. And you know, he smiles, he's like, oh, he's like all happy again, like the moment ever happened. And that's all I get of his bullying. And to me that just it didn't seem strong enough of a reason. And I think perhaps maybe it's because I was excessively bullied as a kid, and I didn't turn out and decide, you know what, I'm gonna go kill some MF first. That's what we're gonna do today. That'll solve all problems. Got it. And don't get me wrong, you know, not to mock for, you know, individuals who do happen to go down those paths, and, you know, and it's sad to see someone go down such a dark path, but it didn't make sense because the incident didn't seem that serious, especially because he came from a very loving family, a supportive family. They were like, don't worry, we love you, we're here for you, let's do this. They were so family oriented, and I've been friends with people who actually have that as their background, and who they are and how they think and how they function in life. It's very different on the levels of dysfunction, because don't get me wrong, families put the fun in dysfunctional, but there's different levels of it in regards to how they handle it. And as long as there's love and support, a consistency of it, especially when there's an aim for it to be as healthy as possible, it tends to give them a certain steady grounding, which is what I felt BrightBurn should have had. So I didn't quite understand, you know, why he didn't have that foundation. I also didn't understand why the parents were hiding his spaceship, but then noticing that every time they look up, he's in a barn hovering in the area. So it's like he's naturally drawn to it. So at some point you probably should have had the conversation. So the next thing that you start to happen is that the boy's ship is calling to him, right? So it must be calling him by his actual name. He sleepwalks all the way over there, and the mom finds him in the barn banging on a thing, like he's trying to get the ship open, and she grabs him, and then he makes his way back to the house, and she doesn't tell the father. So when the father comes in, he's like, what happened? She's like, he was sleepwalking downstairs. Like, she doesn't say anything. So my issue was, starting from that moment and then continuing the story, it seemed like the lack of communication was more of a convenience for the sake of continuing the storyline, instead of her having a conversation with her loving husband, going over everything, going, you know, he was banging on the doors, I think something is up. I don't know what that means. He was sleepwalking. I found him by the barn, banging on the doors of his spaceship, and it was never discussed. Then there's another, his powers kind of start to really kick in at that point, and he has a crush on the girl. So his father decides, hey, maybe we should take you on a trip. Let's talk some more. And before they go on the trip, the boy is chewing on a metal fork. He's just chewing on it, and you can hear the sound. It's supposed to be like how you would chew on your cereal, but he's chewing on the fork. And then when the father takes that out of his mouth, he just looks at the fork like he's supposed to be in horror, or like, oh no, what does this mean? And then the kid zones back in like, hey, what's up, Dad? Everything's cool, like, what's up? And the father doesn't report that to the mom. But then yet they're trying to portray like, we're a family and we tell each other everything, but we're not going to tell each other this because this is convenient for the storyline. And it seemed cheesy to me, because I was like, you can have the parents having this discussion like, we think something's up. And the things that seem to be the most important things to discuss if the family was really close, why wasn't this discussed? So what he does is, because that one girl was nice to him in class, his father is, his parents like find his porn, what it's supposed to be like, you know, for like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old boy. And the father's trying to have like the sex talk with him. And he ends up telling him like, you know, it's okay, you know, these things are natural. But obviously they're having two different ideas of what handling your puberty feelings and, you know, feelings and interests for women actually are. And by this point, he already knows he has powers, because he threw a metal, he threw the lawnmower like feet away, and then he walks over, he stops the blade, then he realizes he's different. So he's already kind of like figuring out like he could do these little random things like fly, small stuff like that. And what ends up happening is he goes to the girl's house and he cuts on music from her laptop. And she wakes up, she freaks out, she closes it, and she's like, alright, whatever, that's weird. And then he flies back in through her window to cut the laptop back on and then stand in her window. And what ends up happening is, while he's standing in her window, the girl's freaking out because she can't figure out how the boy got in there, what's going on. and she screams for her mom, and then her mom rushes in. She's like, what happened? She's like, I'm telling you, I saw him there. I saw him there. So the mom's already kind of freaked out. So what ends up happening is that scene that you see in the trailer where they're kind of pushing each other around, and like that's actually supposed to be a trust exercise. And the exercise is actually going pretty good for the kid who's supposedly getting bullied. The only time it goes bad is because the girl, after him lurking in her bedroom window, he creeps her out. So when he finally lands over to her, she screams, ew, and lets him fall and hit the floor. The teacher tells her, help him up. She's like, no, he's a perv. And the trailer leads you to think that he's excessively bullied for no reason, but there's actually a reason behind it. She saw him in her bedroom and she's like, he's flipping crazy, man, and he's creepy. He's in my bedroom when he's not supposed to be. I'm only 12 years old. What the, you know what I mean? And that's it. Like, there was no other bullying around. It was just like normal, random kid jokes, like nothing even that severe. And that is the only thing that's, it's not like the other kids were pushing him like, yeah, we hate you, we hate you, we hate you, like that classic bullying that they like to throw in films. It was just like, okay, we're doing trust exercise, everyone's learning to trust each other, yeah, we're all having a good day. Oh no, what happened? She let him fall. What happened? What happened? Like, that's not bullying. Like, I don't know if you guys didn't know, whoever like decided on that scene, that's not bullying per se. That's a girl reacting because she's freaked out by him. And then that's when he breaks her hand, and then, her mom's like flipping out, and the parents are starting, get upset. Now here's the thing, the mom, I understand that she's supposed to be highly resisting the fact that this is her son, she finally has a baby, he's supposed to be a blessing to this world, and this and this and that, he's not a murderer, he's not doing anything, but this is kind of what sets him on his path of like darkness, and none of it really makes any sense. So he's upset with the girl, and when he finally goes back to apologize to the girl and he comes into her bedroom, she's like, look, I can't talk to you, my mom told me not to talk to you anymore. And he tells her, oh, well, don't worry, I'm going to take care of that. And she's actually the first person he kills because she won't let his crush talk to him. And I'm just like, all right, sexually frustrated bunch, okay, guess they probably should have had a better talk. And he, essentially the whole scene of what happens to that mom, I saw a lot of that in the trailer. Like, stop putting everything in the trailer, guys. That's really disappointing, because if I'm actually going to pay, keep in mind, I go on Mezco dates to the films for free. So when I'm paying for a movie, I do not want to feel like I done seen the movie already. No, not good. Me no liking. So with that being said, most of the scene that you see of how when she gets killed, you see it. You already know who's getting taken or who's about to be killed because you see the freaking scenes. Now, also the other issue that I had with the character development in regards to the lead character is the fact that he supposedly had this close family and they all love each other, and he has this emotional attachment. Now, I get it, he's supposed to be alien, but regardless of anything, prior to this boy even knowing that he was alien, he still had some psychological, emotional attachment to the people who took care of him. His mom, his dad, his uncle, and his aunt, who happened to buy him a gun. And he decides that he wants his gun. He throws a fit at his birthday party because he's becoming a man. At some point, because he decides, well, I'm going to get caught if these people talk. And he threatens them. He kills his uncle. There's no emotional response. There's no nothing. He tells his aunt, who's supposed to be like the school guidance counselor, to see if she wanted to see if he felt bad about what he did to the little girl, and his answer is just like, sometimes bad things happen to good people. And I get that that scene was supposed to be profound, like, whoa, he's turned really dark, he's going down a very dark path. There was no emotional attachment for me as a viewer to the character to go, oh, I see this drastic difference between the two. I didn't get enough time to get to know the good innocent little boy and then see him turn evil. I kind of feel like there's no bridge to connect the two. It's just him just turning like, you know what, I'm superior than y'all. Mic drop. Like, that's it. And for me, that's not enough as an audience, because it just makes me question. I'm not really getting, like, what's his problem? Like, is he just going through puberty? Is he on his period? Like, is that what happens? What's going on? Is this a once a month kind of thing with him? Like, how does this work? And it wasn't exciting for me to see him do his dark turn and then kill his uncle, you know, who he supposedly had this major emotional attachment with because he was flipping out at his dad because his uncle bought him a gun that his dad didn't want him to keep. So, and then later on he kills his dad. He does have a good reason to kill his dad because his dad tells the mom, I think I'm going to take him out on a trip. It's going to be me, him, in the woods. And the whole thing from that moment is absolutely completely telegraphed. Like, it's like, oh, he's going to take him in the back of the woods and go shoot him. But it's not going to work, and then BrightBurn's going to kill his dad. Got it! Like, I already figured out the next 20 minutes without even thinking about it, what's about to happen. And it's just kind of like where's the mystery? And then when you get towards the end, his mom is supposed to be like, I guess, the last beacon of hope when she finally realizes her son is a homicidal maniac, and he's becoming basically a serial killer because he's keeping track of all of his killings like a serial killer would. And it's just so like overnight. It really is. It's just like bloop, overnight. Like, that's what happened. And it's just confusing. So when he realizes, the mom realizes, like, I have no way of really defending myself. My son's trying to kill me, blah, blah, blah. And he's just sort of like teasing her because he knows that he's stronger and he's a superior, you know, alien. And she remembers last minute at some point in the film that when he finally finds his spaceship, he cut himself on the ship itself. So she tries to like stab him with it later on. That would have been important if the couple had been actually communicating to have just mentioned to the dad. So she obviously fails and he kills her, but the way he kills her is by taking her up into the sky and letting her drop. I presume that was supposed to be symbolic of like how his mom is actually falling from grace, if you will. And then he sees a plane, and then to cover up the destruction of the house and everything else that happened, he throws the plane, destroys it. We don't really see what happens, but he kills everyone on board. And he drops it on his house, and he's supposed to be like the sole survivor. And then they end it with like a YouTube conspiracy theories, kind of people going over things, you know, like a half man, half fish disrupting the southern China seas. There's a witch woman with a rope strangling people, you know, which is kind of cool. But then I feel like there's just so many potholes in the storyline. One, what is the real reason why he suddenly decides to turn evil? Like, it's not just because he found out he's an alien. And, you know, we have the other point is the fact that he wasn't really bullied. It was like one joke and then a girl who didn't like him back because he was lingering in her window. I felt like if they were going to go with the storyline of reason why Superman would be evil from that age is because he would be actually excessively bullied. He should have had a similar origin story to like Shazam. Even if you gave him parents, his parents were crappy, they were doing things, they didn't care about him, even though he was trying to gain their affection. And the only way he gained their affection is by making them fear him over time. That would have been something that would have made sense to me. Like, okay, so this kid's been through some crap. Or if you give him good parents, show him actually getting bullied in school. Have his parents asking him questions. Hey, how was school today? I know it was a little tough. Did you get into the, how's that kid who beat you up the last time? You know, are you guys okay? There should have been a little bit more going on in regards to why this kid is suddenly like, I'm evil. You know, it's like he's running around saying, I want to be evil. Like, you know, he's doing more than just stepping on the toes of people in the middle of the movie theater. So it's like, I wonder how many people are going to get that song reference. So I feel like they didn't really explain or show me or flesh out why this kid feels the way that he does. Because he's supposed to be happy and that's how they portray him. But he's not really as happy as he was supposed to be. And I don't think any of this is the actor's fault. I'm kind of leaning on the directors on this one because I've seen the actors and other pieces and I've seen them do very strong acting, and I kind of felt like this was limited by wanting to get to a certain goal in mind. And I don't, you know, I'm not trying to take this from anyone, but I kind of just feel like the focus was to make it appear like Superman opposed to taking it as a true mythology. What if Superman truly was evil? Now, with that mentioning, and then obviously the Wonder Woman reference, the Aquaman reference, the question becomes for me as a comic book fan, I'm looking at this as, okay, I'm looking at Clark Kent. I'm wondering how are they going to like handle this storyline, and does that mean are they really going to try to make a true mythology out of this? Because if they truly try to make a mythology out of this, does that mean that we're going to get another version of BrightBurn, but it's really Kara underneath everything? Because, you know, part of her planet still kind of survived, and she ends up making her way over here as well. Does that mean that the Amazonian women are really like the Spartans, except, you know, far much more evil? Like, how far does this go when you explain the witch woman with the rope? How do you explain that? Does that mean, you know, people from Atlantis are just out to just kill people? They're like, no, we don't like humans. You ain't got fins. You out. It's like reverse sushi. You know, like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I felt like they didn't take it seriously enough to actually write it out as a real mythology. And that's the part where I feel like it's very lacking in. Sorry, just looking at my notes here. Character development, storyline. It is a fun concept. I can give you that. It is a fun idea to sit there and think about, oh no, how on earth would I put this together if Superman went evil? And it's fun, but I don't feel like it was completely executed the way that I guess I feel it should have been as a film as well as a comic book film. Because that's really what it should have been. And it felt like they geared more towards being a horror, dipping into comic. We don't really kind of know where we're going. We're just going in different directions to see what we get. And the psychology of everything, like I said, there was no support. He killed his uncle. There was no like, all right, he threatened his aunt and only ended up killing his uncle because he was supposed to kill his aunt that night. So it's kind of like, okay, like, where's this going? And then my other issue is that as an audience member, I wasn't emotionally connected to anything, especially when it came to the hero or the anti-hero. And I feel like when he finally killed his mom because she tried to kill him, that should have been a moment of reaction from the character. When he killed the girl's, his crush's mom, okay, fine. I don't need, you know, much of an emotional reaction from that. However, when you kill your uncle, who you absolutely adore and love, when you kill your father and then you turn around and kill your mother, who's told you that I believe you're a blessing, you're the perfect thing on this one planet, you should have had a moment of emotion, of reaction. Regardless of how superior you think you are, there's an emotional attachment to something. There's something there that should have triggered you psychologically. Like, there should have been a trigger for something, and it was just like, nah. And it didn't make any sense, and it didn't allow me to connect with the hero or anti-hero, however you want to call him. Then my other question becomes, if they decide to make this into a real strong storyline, like I said, does that mean we're going to see Kara? Are we going to see the witch woman appearing with the rope? Are they going to do other storylines like that? Are they going to have, you know, their version of Aquaman running around, and perhaps maybe the witch doesn't steal Ariel's voice? Maybe she's like, no, I'm going to take the witch's voice. Who knows? And then my other question becomes, now naturally, since this is kind of like hinting towards DC, does that mean Batman would be evil? Now naturally, most people would say, of course he would be evil. Or would he just be a neutral gray threat? And the reason why I asked this is because of the Tower of Babel. Now, with the Tower of Babel, if you're not familiar with this, Ra's al Ghul steals Batman's, you know, plans. And it's basically in case all the superheroes, the superhumans, the metas, get out of hand. It's just, how do I take them out? So this entire storyline is built on the fact that Ra's al Ghul is trying to get away with something, and he's like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna turn his skin into magnesium so he combusts into flames. This chick with the witch woman with the rope, which by the way, she could be strangling people, because this could all be Ra's al Ghul's doing, because she's really just trying to strangle Cheetah. That's really what that scene's about. I'm kidding. But you know, with that kind of going on, does that mean Batman would actually be the villain, or would he just be a neutral threat? Because regardless of anything, Batman would still see BrightBurn, the witch woman, the half fish man, you know, tearing up the southern China seas. He would have still seen them personally as a threat, because even if he is trying to be a villain, he's still naturally going to be the hero by taking them out. Batman's the man. But yeah, there was so much like missing. It is a fun movie, but I don't think I would have recommended myself to actually go see the film. So I give it 3 out of 5 Cadmas, maybe 3.5, just for the sake of having fun. but it's not what I guess a comic book fan would hope it to be. Now, as someone who watches horror films, I felt like it was lacking there as well. I feel like they had a great idea. They tried to put it together, but it just wasn't executed as carefully as it should have been. I felt like there wasn't enough love and passion. It was too busy trying to, let's just make this a polar opposite, and let's make this a polar opposite. There wasn't enough fleshing out for me to, like I said, to be emotionally involved, you know. Then I also want to know, like, are we gonna see Bizarro, and is Bizarro actually like the actual Superman? Is he gonna be good? Are we gonna see Zod? Are we gonna see Brainiac? Or is Lex Luthor gonna be from that school and suddenly be like, you know what, this kid's a problem? And just as a bonus, I feel like it would have been mad awesome if they would have shown that the YouTube videos were being watched by a little boy with a butler, kind of just watching the scene, whether you're gonna make Batman evil or not. I'm just throwing it out there for, you know, for his contingency plans. But I hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did see BrightBurn, please tell me what you think about it. How do you feel about the references to, you know, to Superman? Do you feel like they lacked here? Did you really love it? Did you think it was, you know, so phenomenal? Is there something that I perhaps maybe missed? But yeah, please feel free to tell me about what you think of the evil Kal-El, BrightBurn, and hit that button down there to subscribe. Of course, I need comments. I need feedback from you people. Because I don't know if you know this, but I'm not a mind reader. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not. So when I get approached in the street, at conventions, and they're like, hey, it's Cadma from YouTube and TikTok, and you're like, your videos are great, in my head, I'm like, since when? And it's because I don't see any comments in the comment section, but you guys tell me in person, which is great. That's fine. I love it. I'm friendly. However, before you see me at a convention, please write it in the description, and it's not what I'm pointing at where your dirty minds are going. However, thank you so much for checking this out, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review.